Hi everyone, I'm Judy and this is Judy's Take. So today I want to talk about the fact that we are 4 days away, 4 days away from the election, and everybody has been worried about this election, and I just kind of wanted to talk about that because, I touched on it in my last video where I said that, people are really traumatized by 2016 and everything. And I wanted to kind of highlight this article that I seen one of my friends post on Facebook. Nothing against the author of the article or anything. I just thought it was interesting because a lot of the worries that this author has is basically a lot of the worries that I'm seeing from pretty much everyone who isn't a Trump supporter. So, I found it on, well, obviously they posted it, but it's on yahoonews.com. It was posted 5-6 days ago, but from Inan Dogan or something. Sorry. Anyways, basically, like, his article is talking about, it starts off with talking about the chances that the 538 polls had for Hillary versus what they have now for Biden. And it said on, 2016, Hillary had a 67% chance of winning. And now, during the same time frame, they have Biden up at 87% chance of winning. But then he goes on to say that he thinks that the polls are wrong. And this is what he said. And like I said, I'm not picking on this guy. I thought it was interesting because literally everything that he's saying is like exactly what everyone is worried about. So he goes on to say, the way that Trump is or whatever, cheating, lying, playing dirty, you guys know the guy. And he was like, some Trump supporters don't feel comfortable admitting that to anyone. That was the case in 2016. And so he thinks it's very possible that that is also the case. And even more people now are embarrassed to admit it. And, my criticism is, what evidence? What evidence do you have of that? There is no evidence of that. If anything, if you guys have had the unfortunate whatever to talk to Trump supporters, and if you're even like friends or family with them, I'm sorry, but no, they're not embarrassed anymore. Like, Trump emboldened them. Obviously it's anecdotal what I'm saying, but I don't see the evidence in the numbers, I guess what I'm trying to say. No one does anymore. Like, now what you see a lot is, people who have been for him and are proud of it. They're very proud of it. So obviously I don't have any evidence against it other than anecdotal, but there's also no evidence for it either, so that's kind of a flop there. Let's see, the next thing he says, that the 538 estimates Joe Biden has an 8-point lead over Donald Trump nationally. That's almost, and then he says that is almost a meaningless statistic. I said on here, I was like, it's not meaningless, honestly. And the reason for that is because, like I've said in my other videos, the polls have been consistent. Like, if you look at some of the polls from 2016, they were up and down and up and down. And, obviously the methodology was different. So there's nothing. It's not meaningless. Like, the polls have been consistent. Like I said in my last video, or 2 videos ago, Biden, since the primaries, has had about 7 to 10 point lead. And it has stayed in that range. So when he says, that they average him at 8, that's actually consistent with every poll since this guy has came out and said that he was running. So it isn't meaningless. It would be meaningless if it wasn't consistent, honestly. If we actually didn't have a real concrete view of the polls, but they've been concrete. So anyways, then he's like, it doesn't matter whether blah, 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 blah. He's like, Biden might be increasing his lead over Trump in the blue states, but there are only a handful of battleground states that'll determine the outcome, blah, blah, blah. And this is my criticism. I said yes, and he has those leads in those swing states in the Rust Belt. And then I said, that's also why I pushed so hard for Joe Biden in the primaries. Like, it's not because I'm a diehard Democrat. I'm really not, and, I'm independent here. Used to be a Republican. But I knew, like, okay, so my reasoning for why I had confidence that Joe Biden could win the Rust Belt and take it back from Trump was because I heard him talking to Rust Belt voters when he was campaigning for Hillary. I'm dead serious. And I sat there and I heard this guy. Not only does, he sounded just like them. And he talks just like them. And that's probably because once upon a time he was them, so of course, and when I heard him, I was like, dude, if this guy was running against Trump, he would take it back. Like, Trump would be done. It was amazing to hear him, how he talked to them. He knew their issues. He really understood. And that means a lot. That means a lot to a lot of people, especially people, in the working class. So yeah, I knew from then. I was like, if this dude runs, he stands a good chance of beating Trump. And at the time, I was part of the Never Trump movement. So basically, my following of Biden has been because I have always thought that he had the best chance of beating Trump, and that's the goal. That has always been my goal. Take him down. So, and I didn't care who did it. Honestly, I didn't care. People got all emotional during the primaries because their person, didn't get it or whatever. It's like, I don't care about all that. I just care about winning. So then he goes on to say, I thought this was funny. Okay. He said, we have indirect evidence that Donald Trump has more supporters in these states than what the polls are estimating. My only comment to that was come on, really? Really? How are you allowed to write for Yahoo, a national media, and you sit there and say, we have indirect evidence? Well, then that's not evidence. It's opinion, so I don't know. I'm not picking on him. I just think it's funny how people do that. It's I don't know. When you actually read articles, it's did you actually put facts in there, or did you just put largely your opinions on things? Okay, so Oh, okay. And so then this was his another reasoning for his predictions. He said, first, Donald Trump draws much larger crowds than Joe Biden. Okay. I just want to say, and I think I said this to one of my friends. Large crowds does not equate people voting. Large crowds does not equate people voting. And if you want evidence, actual evidence for that, just talk to Bernie Sanders. Because Bernie Sanders crowds always rivaled Trump's crowds. I mean, Bernie would bring in like 30,000 people, a lot of people. Like, they were very similar in that way. And yet Bernie has come second in the primaries twice now. So crowd size means jack if they don't show up to vote. And obviously, they're not showing up. In the numbers, like you would assume in the numbers that they're coming in those crowds, you'd be like, oh my God, it's going to be a blowout. It's like, no, it's just that literally Trump's crowds are sycophants. That's it. What I'm saying is, people, like moderate people and regular people, if they're not, people got lives. If they're not seeing Biden as like this supreme leader, new messiah, then of course they're not gonna go. They got other shit they gotta do. So anyways, that was dumb. That was a dumb one. Then this author said, this one's funny. He said, second, I noticed that YouTube videos about Donald Trump generates multiples of views that more than Biden videos generate. Seriously? Come on. Really? It's like, okay, so I just want to say, like, dude, I even watch Trump videos just to see like the crazy stuff that this guy says. It's like shoddy evidence. Like, this dude, like, I always watch it just to see what, like, oh my God, everybody's like, did you hear this? Did you hear that on a day that I'm not watching the news or something? And I'm like, no, and I can't find it anywhere. Well, trust YouTube to find it. So I don't know. That doesn't mean anything either. That's the most shoddiest like evidence thus far in this article about that. Let's see. And then so that was it. And he was like, because of those reasons, he thinks then he said that Joe Biden failed to brand Trump as the most corrupt politician ever, whereas Donald Trump's team is extremely skillful at fabricating a corruption scandal that will probably sway the election in Trump's favor. Yeah, really? I'm pretty sure he's talking about the Hunter Biden ordeal conspiracy theory that now Fox News and Tucker Carlson, they lost the stuff. Come on, man. Like, seriously. It's like, first of all, Biden doesn't even have to paint him as the most corrupt politician. Donald Trump already painted himself that way. Like, people already think that without you having to tell them. Like, literally, like, you can sit here and say, like, you can sit here and post on any social media and say, I can't stand the most corrupt politician in our lifetimes. And people will all automatically assume that you're talking about Trump. Try it. That's literally how it is. I've seen people that put, I hate the guy. And then others will be like, yeah, I hate Trump too. Without you don't even have to say this dude's name to know. And you guys know that's true. But anyways, and then, so the Hunter Biden BS, like the nothing burger. Well, they really tried. And, like a lot of people were saying after the last debate, that Trump and Biden had, what was it, a week ago or something, 2 weeks ago. People right now who are worried about all this stuff, the virus, sending their kids to school or not sending them to school, working, not working, standing in unemployment lines, standing in food lines, not being able to pay their bills, not being able to pay their mortgages, not having money to go to the doctor, they don't have insurance, all these things that people are worried about right now, the average person. They don't give a rat's ass about Hunter Biden. And then the funniest part about that this guy failed to mention is the fact that there was an article out a few days ago. Anyways, it can't be more than a week and a half old, but supposedly, what's his face? Putin, Trump's little lover. He actually said that that he doesn't think that Hunter Biden did anything criminal. And honestly, I think he said that because that's going to work to his advantage. He thinks, curry favor with Biden, but at the same time, it can be viewed favorably towards Trump. He's trying to walk the line. He sees the polls too, but he also doesn't want Trump out of there because Trump is his puppet. But anyways, so yeah, this is all, whatever. And then he's like, because of that, he says, because of these reasons, I think polls will be proven wrong again, and Donald Trump will deliver another stunning upset. And then he goes on to talk about, like, all the states and their meanings, which I'm not going to get into. But I do want to mention Florida because he says Florida first. And he's like, Florida will probably determine the outcome of the presidential election again. No. Honestly. Okay, so here's the reason I think that. Obviously, you guys have seen on the news that for Biden, for the Democrats, Florida is not that important. Like, they could lose it and still win. The thing is that Trump could lose it and have a really hard time coming back from that. So, and then, I know a lot of you are going to say, but then why the push for Florida from the Biden team? Like, they were over there yesterday, and they've been pushing there the last couple of days. And that's easy. You want to keep your lead. That's all that Biden is doing. He's keeping his lead. You want to embarrass Trump, honestly. Like, you make it impossible to win. I mean, like, that's the point, no? To win, like, that's the point, right? So, just because you might be ahead a few points, that doesn't mean, like, oh, just stop already. It's like, they got the money to keep going, so they're going to keep going, basically, till the last minute that they can. And if they can keep the lead, it's going to be hard for Trump. And honestly, I think that it's going to be, if anything, there's not going to be another stunning upset. Which honestly, it wasn't a stunning upset. He barely won that, and he lost the popular vote. But I think what we should be, I think that what to expect is going to be more along the lines of there's going to be some reliably red states that flip to Biden, honestly. I think North Carolina might be one of those. I think Georgia. I think we're going to be surprised about Georgia. And obviously Arizona. And then Texas is looking very competitive. So that one will be a nail biter. But honestly, if Texas actually goes blue, it really is game over. Like, Texas is the only state that the Republicans have that has big numbers. I mean, there's really only California, Texas, and New York. If they lose all three, well, I mean, they always expect to lose the other two. But if they lose Texas, I don't know how they gain that. And if the trends continue, if young people keep going, if minorities keep going, and they keep making that state more blue, then I don't even see how Republicans win elections anymore. Honestly, like win general elections. I don't see it. But we'll see. Honestly, I predict that he is going to win. I predict that Biden is going to win. If we base it off the polls that haven't moved, if we base it off of real facts, if we base it off of the just incredible amount of numbers that have been people, not just numbers, people who have been voting. I mean, it's crazy. They just said today that Texas officially has voted, the early voters equal the amount of voters total that there was in 2016. So that should tell you guys something. And it probably means, I mean, and they've seen the numbers higher for minorities. They've seen the numbers higher for young people. They've seen all these numbers move away from Trump and move towards Biden. So I'm fairly confident, like I said before, I'm fairly confident. Of course, I'm worried just like everyone else. And, you know, it's not abnormal for you guys to be worried. But at the same time, don't buy into all these things that are like needlessly making you worried. And that's just what I wanted to say to you guys. Like, I know how important this is, and I know how disappointing it would be if Trump wins again. I mean, it would be devastating for our country, and the world, honestly. It'd be devastating for minorities. It'd be devastating for democracy. I mean, we will pretty much be a dictatorship. And I'm not just saying that, like, no, this dude gets away with everything, and the Republicans let him. And so I know how scary that thought is, to have a criminal traitor in the White House and not be able to get rid of him because his personal lawyer is Bill Barr, is the Attorney General of the United States. Whoever imagined that? Like, I think the founding fathers were very, very ahead of their time, and, you know, they thought a lot about things, and for the most part, the Constitution is very, very relevant till today. But I don't think that they imagined this, and we need to squash this. So I know how important it is, and I know why you're worried. And we tend to go back to, as humans, just behavior-wise, we tend to go back to the times when the traumatic event, and we basically analyze and reanalyze and overanalyze and analyze again what we did wrong, how we thought wrong, how our thought patterns influence our emotions, our thinking, and well, obviously thought patterns, thinking, how it influenced our emotions, how it influenced how we dealt with our behaviors. And then we tried to not repeat the things that we did and said and thought that caused us distress. So I totally understand it. I mean, it's human nature. But let's also not overlook a lot of the facts that we are being presented that are, completely different. This is not the same election, you guys. It's really not. So honestly, I just want to leave you with that. And get fired up. That's my take, you guys. And I will probably make another video on election night. So stay tuned for that. All right. See you guys.